Mexico is on fire.
Panic at a Mexican airport. You can see terrified passengers running through the terminal with dark plumes of smoke rising in the air just outside.
Mexico, February 2026, Jalisco State. Gunfire echoes through the mountains. One of the world's most wanted drug traffickers is dead.
Well, there is an outbreak of violence across Mexico following the takedown of the notorious drug kingpin known as El Mencho.
Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, better known as El Mencho, the leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, has been killed by Mexican security forces. But his death didn't end the violence. It ignited it. In February 2026, Mexican special forces launched a military operation. Backed by the National Guard, Air Force, and U.S. intelligence support, troops moved in to capture the cartel boss after security forces followed one of his lovers to his hideout. Cornered, the cartel gunmen opened fire on the security forces. By the time the shootout was over, El Mencho and at least 8 cartel members were dead, and within hours, Mexico erupted.
We'll have more on the breaking news out of Mexico. The U.S. Embassy issuing a shelter-in-place order for Americans in areas around Mexico City and the resort town of Puerto Vallarta.
Across the country, cartel gunmen blocked highways with burning trucks and buses, vehicles torched, highways sealed, armed men patrolling streets. In Guadalajara, panic spread through the airport as passengers ran for cover. Gunmen were filmed setting fire to petrol stations in broad daylight. In the popular tourist destination of Puerto Vallarta, thick black smoke rising into the sky. The United States had offered a $15 million reward for El Mencho's capture. He was accused of smuggling massive quantities of cocaine, methamphetamine, and fentanyl across the U.S. border, fueling the opioid crisis. Senior U.S. officials called his death a major blow to cartel power. But experts say removing a kingpin doesn't end a cartel. And for years, Jalisco was controlled by one man, El Mencho. And now he's dead. But to understand what might happen next, you have to understand how he built his empire. The Jalisco New Generation Cartel is considered to be the most powerful cartel in Mexico, with a reputation for ruthlessness and violence unlike any other seen before it. Also known as the CJNG, they emerged around 2009 and swiftly expanded their influence into the northeastern region of Mexico, operating under the banner of Matazetas, which translates to Kill Zetas. They seized control of the Los Zetas territory and claimed responsibility for the massacre of 35 people. In April 2015, Jalisco significantly boosted their notoriety by launching an attack on law enforcement in the state of Jalisco, resulting in the deaths of 15 cops who were ambushed on the side of a road. Since then, Jalisco has relentlessly pursued power and wealth through violence and are said to now operate in at least 24 Mexican states, Europe, Asia, and even Australia, and are claimed to be worth approximately $50 billion. And until now, it was all under the control of El Mencho. El Mencho's life of crime started at just 14 years old when he was hired to guard marijuana crops. Wanting a better future for himself, he quit and illegally migrated to the United States in the 1980s. But in 1994, he was sentenced 3 years for conspiring to distribute cocaine and was deported to Mexico on his release. Once back, he went in a different direction and became a cop. But he couldn't resist the urge to deal drugs and quit to join the Mencho cartel. Originally working alongside the Sinaloa cartel, after the capture of leader Oscar Orlando Nava Valencia in 2009 and the death of Ignacio Coronel Villarreal in 2010, a power grab emerged. The Mencho cartel broke into smaller factions, and Jalisco was born. One of Jalisco's most feared hitmen behind many of the murders was Fabian Urbino Morales, better known as Killer Clown, who was always seen in disguise by wearing a clown mask. But it's the Jalisco training camps that make trying to get into the Navy SEALs a walk in the park. Commanders save the worst punishment for the most timid recruits. Decapitate the body of a dead man, crush his head with a stone, and then be forced to eat parts of it. This horrific cannibalistic practice was said to make Jalisco members desensitized to violence and fear no one, making them responsible for piles of bodies showing up all over Mexico. In just the city of Guadalajara alone in 2019, so many bodies were found dumped in drainage canals, fields, and in the yards of people's homes that authorities ran out of space in morgues and had to move bodies around in refrigerated trucks. But it's not just rival cartels that are punished by Jalisco. Innocent workers are also victims.
New this morning, a gruesome discovery in Mexico. Authorities discovered 45 bags containing human remains.
In June 2023, 8 slaughtered bodies were found in a ravine. The human remains that were discovered in 45 bags were identified as workers who all mysteriously vanished from a local call center in May 2023. Authorities suspected that the call center was a front for an illegal real estate agency that defrauded U.S. and Canadian tourists, with the profits funding Jalisco. And yet, while the exact motive behind the murders remains unclear, U.S. officials suggest that they were most likely killed because they were planning to quit their jobs. After the death of El Mencho, the real question now isn't whether CJNG survives, it's who controls what's left. And if this is the end of his chapter, the next one may be even more dangerous. Because it's happened before. When Joaquin El Chapo Guzman was captured in 2016, many thought the Sinaloa cartel would collapse. It didn't. A violent power struggle followed as his sons, known as Los Chapitos, fought for control. In 2019, gunmen effectively took over the city of Culiacan to force the release of Ovidio Guzman Lopez, turning the streets into a war zone. The cartel survived. Removing the kingpin didn't end the war, it reshaped it. El Mencho built an empire through firepower and fear. Will it continue?